Services Committee meeting for October 7th, 2019 to order. Please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Here.
Councilor DeMasi.
She's excused.
Councilor Hill.
Here.
Councilor Tesorero.
Here.
Councilor Wilmot.
Here. Is there any old business to attend to on this committee? Seeing none, moving along to, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the September 16th, 2019 committee meeting. Councilor Hill. Councilor Wilmot.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes. Item number 1 under communication. Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. seeks favorable consideration from the Common Council to appropriate funds to support the purchase and training of service dogs by the Oswego County Veterans Agency to assist disabled military veterans. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Chairman. This is essentially an agreement between the City of Oswego and the Oswego County Veterans Agency. It is to fund a $10,000 agreement to fund service animals for military veterans, disabled veterans who are suffering from PTSD or any other service-related issues. Oswego County is a county where, for one reason or another, we don't have a service dog program like some other counties do. So we were approached. A lot of the need, because we have, a lot of the county's population here in the city, a lot of the need exists here in the city. So what we want to do is partner with the county to run essentially a pilot program and test this out. Each dog, once it's purchased and trained, it costs about $2,500. So this $10,000 would fund about 4 dogs to get the program up and running. And once they assign these, depending on how fast and how big the demand is, once the program's established, we've had discussions with the county, and if we need to keep moving forward with a partnership, we will. But this is essentially a pilot with these 4 dogs to see how fast we match them to people who need them and see how effective they are.
All right, very good. Any questions from the council?
And it's a 1-year agreement, so they have to place the dogs within a year. If it takes longer than a year, then the need's probably not as serious. So it's about a 1-year agreement.
All right, any questions for the mayor from the council? Any questions from the public? Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry.
I would just like to say that I think this is an amazing idea. In my experience at work, I've had a chance to see what a difference it can make in a person's quality of life. And I think it's just, I hope that it's successful and that we're able to see it expanded throughout the county.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor Tesorero, Councilor Hill.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor DeMasi. Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes.
And we need a resolution?
Mayor's office? Sure. Item number 2, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. seeks favorable consideration from the Common Council to appropriate funds to support additional overtime for the members of the Oswego City Police Department to assist with quality of life patrols for the remainder of 2019 and for 2020. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. This is a proposal that we kind of unveiled last week, but it's essentially a $90,000 allocation straight to quality of life patrols by the Oswego Police Department in the city of Oswego. This is somewhat a response to some issues we've had lately, where we've seen, for probably a few different reasons, an uptick in late night disturbances throughout, right in the heart of our neighborhoods. Councilor Hill has been really on top of the issue in his ward, documenting some of the incidents that have happened and how they seem to be happening more frequently now. So this $90,000 is for $18,000 from now till the rest of this year, and then $72,000 for 2020, the entire year of 2020. Specifically, it's to focus in on Thursday nights, Friday nights, and Saturday nights from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., and it'll simply put another officer on the ground, actual boots on the ground, if you will, when the weather's nice, to focus in on those loud disturbances and the issues that are happening right in the neighborhood. So we're just supplementing the workforce on those nights during those hours to focus in on issues. And it's not just any one specific issue. Saw a lot of back and forth about, why are we going after college late-night parties? Why don't we go on the east side? This is actually to be dispatched by OPD the same way everybody else is. You go where some of the issues are and where we're seeing, that activity. So it's not just to target, quote, target late-night college parties. It's not just to stay in one area. It's to move about, whether it's collecting drug activity on the east side or patrolling neighborhoods on the west side. It's treated just like every other officer there, but the patrol itself is for quality of life issues.
All right, very good. Any comments? Yes, Councilor Hill.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this proposal. As the mayor said, we have had an uptick this year of late-night disturbances, disruption in the neighborhoods, particularly along the Bridge Street corridor, West 8th Street, West Oneida, West Mohawk. So that area has been a hotbed this year of activity. Every year we do see an uptick at the beginning of the college semester, but this year seemed to be a little worse than usual. So this will work hand in hand with the social host law we passed last year, and I'm confident that this will improve the conditions in the neighborhoods and improve quality of life. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else to speak on this? I just wanted to add now, I've talked to several of my constituents in the 7th Ward, and they were aware of this proposal, and I just want to reiterate that it's not just for the 3rd Ward or 1st Ward. I mean, if policemen are available, they will be in the 7th Ward or 6th Ward during those days you talked about, Thursday through Sunday,
Yep.
Saturday, right?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Seeing none, how about a motion? Councilor Wilmot, Councilor Tesorerio.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes. Item number 3, the Office of Economic Development and the Mayor's Office recommend the selection and approval of the bid submitted by W.D. Malone Trucking and Excavating Incorporated for the construction of the West Seneca Street Bikeway Project. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Chairman. This is the long-awaited West Seneca Street Bikeway project. We won a grant for this in December of 2016. The total proposed project cost at that time was $490,000. The grant we won was a 50-50 match, so the grant's worth $245,000. We initially were on the hook for the other $245,000. So after design, just to be specific on what the grant is, it's to build those curb bump outs along West Seneca Street on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th Street to calm traffic, narrow the road, curb gardens. It'll aesthetically improve the area. So the bids went out. They came back. We have 2 bids. The low bid was, of course, above the estimated, the anticipated project cost. The low bid was $688,000. The second bid was $724,000. I don't know. The first bid isn't going to work. We can't select that because they didn't have the proper apprenticeship language in, so we can't pick that one. So we have to go with the second bid, $724,000. So this would move the project forward and come up with the difference in the funds.
All right, any questions from the council on this one? From the public? Oh, wait a second, Councilor Tesorerio.
Yes. In the 6th Ward, they completed the Syracuse Ave. Not so much a bike path, but the bump outs for parking, and drastically reduced the speeds down through there, which is for the health and safety of anybody. I think it's a good project. I think it's worthy. I think anytime we can slow traffic off these main roads coming in is a bonus to everybody that lives here. So I support this.
All right, very good. I saw a hand up in the front row.
You don't have to accept the bid if it seems your estimated original completed cost by that much.
Yep.
And the project is scaled back to be more in line with what the first one.
Yep, sure. It's just, just like what we faced with Brittany Hills and Munn Street, where the project cost, the project estimate is set at one cost, and the bids come back for whatever reason. There's various different reasons higher than we actually thought. So, at the end of the day, the council can either scale the scope of the project back to try to save some money, whether that's, this project goes 2nd through 7th, you can scale it back and say 2nd to 5th, and see how much money that saves, or you can do every other one. If you want to change the scope to try to bring the cost down, you can certainly do that. Or you can scrap the bids and rebid. In this bid, for example, similar to Brittany Hills and Munn Street, we had the project has to be done by December 31st. That drives up the price because the bid went out, I think, in August or early September. Most contractors have their work scheduled through the end of the year, so when a bid comes out like this, they're not as hungry for work as they are if you bid it in January. So, and with that firm deadline of 12/31, that drives up the cost, so you can scrap these bids, rebid in January, February for work to be in the spring or summer of next year. That's totally up to the council, or you can scrap it and just rebid it and see what happens then. I think we've been through enough bids with the DRI, with all the grant money we've won. We know at this point who's going to bid. We generally know who's going to be low bid most of the time and so forth. So I kind of think we know what we're getting when these costs go out. But the two things to focus on: scope of the project, the size, and the timing of it. So that's certainly the council's prerogative. I can tell you this project was a grant that we won in December of 2016, ran into some issues along the way with sewer separation activity work. Sewer rehab work was being done down there in summer of 18, so it didn't make sense to do it before summer of 18. We went through some issues with DEC and the scope of the plan, and then ultimately design with Barton and LaJudas, and we were pushing all summer to get the bid out. Didn't go out till August and came back. So yeah, that's the council's decision.
All right, thank you.
I can tell you the residents, and Councilor McBrearty can speak to this, have been waiting since this first plan was unveiled in spring of 2016 that we're going to apply for the grant, and you show that rendering and the residents think it's going to happen that summer. That's not how the grant works. You win. We were lucky to win the first time in 2016, and they think it's going to happen in 17, and we've been through this. So I would defer to the councilor on that part, but support whatever decision she wants to make.
Councilor, would you like to chime in here?
We are very excited that the project is progressing, and I'm hoping that it will be forwarded to the council.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the council? From the public? Councilor.
Yeah, but personally, it just seems that it is a bit exorbitant for 5 blocks. We're talking $500,000, $250,000 over. I would like to hear what the rest of the council says. Not that I wouldn't like to see it put in place, but at the same time, we're talking about $250,000 here at the point we're at. There's a lot of projects. What do other people think about this? We're talking 5 blocks on Seneca Street, right? You said from 2nd to 7th Street. I'm just wondering what other councilors think it's a bit of money. And where are we getting the money from?
Anybody else want to chime in?
Yes,
Councilor Hill?
The project is partially grant funded, so when we applied for the grant, we essentially agreed to complete the project, and there's no guarantee that the next bid is going to come in less than the current bid as well, unless we scale it back, and then at that point, what's the point of doing it? The residents have expected this. They're looking forward to it. I would vote to support it as it is right now, but that's my feeling.
All right. No, I was just wondering where we were going to get the money from. It's quite a bit over what we initially expected.
And there may be a bit of fluctuation. Once we award it, the contractor can then come in and say, look, city, and this isn't abnormal, they can say, look, how tough are you going to be on the 12/31 deadline? They can say, look, now that we're awarded, some of the pricing on the materials may change. It can fluctuate a bit, not much. It's not going to change $100,000, but it could come down. Fluctuates a bit.
All right. Certainly, I agree with Councilor Hill. At this point, the residents there have waited 2 years. The funding's in place. We've got the grant money, and apparently the contractor's willing to get this done by the deadline. So I feel it's a goal for me, too. Anybody else? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Councilor Hill? Councilor Wilmot?
Councilor Portino?
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tezzararo.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Item number 4, Thomas Kells, Commissioner of Department of Public Works, requests authorization for the city chamberlain to make various transfers within the department. Commissioner Kells, would you like to shed some light on this one?
Sure, Counselor. This is to purchase a few pieces of equipment to assist us in being more efficient. A couple crew cab trucks, move the guys around more efficiently by having 4 guys in a truck versus 2. We run into that issue quite often right now.
All right. Being on the council for several years, I've seen this request come in the past. I mean, it's just basically a budget item, moving money from one account to another because you didn't use it as much in one account you needed in the other account.
That is correct.
This is not unusual. Any comments or concerns by the council? From the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Hill, Counselor Wilmot.
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tezzararo.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Item number 5, Randall B. Griffin, Fire Chief, is requesting intra-departmental transfers to be used for miscellaneous repairs and items. Chief Griffin?
Similar to good evening, first of all. Similar to Commissioner Kells, we have some money left over from physicals. Less than $10,000, it's not a huge amount of money, but we're looking to leverage that to put into infrastructure of the station, as we've been putting into all year, as well as some loose equipment.
All right, very good. Any questions from the council for the chief? And the public? Okay, how about a motion then? Counselor Hill, Counselor Tezzararo.
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tezzararo.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Item number 6, Randall B. Griffin, Fire Chief, requests funding to purchase a new ambulance for the Oswego Fire Department through state contract pricing. Chief?
I was waiting for your thing to catch up. I guess it's not going to. So, the Mercedes ambulance that we had for a number of years was purchased before I got here. It's around $85,000, $86,000. We spent about $20,000, about 30% of its value, just in the last 2 years. That came out of service right before Harborfest, which left us an ambulance shy. Mentor Ambulance stepped up. They couldn't come up with the personnel to staff another ambulance. So that's where we went into an emergency lease program with them. We have the people, we just needed the ambulance. They had the ambulances, they didn't have the people. So we kind of married that together and did a staff lease temporarily until we could do this. Initially, it was in the budget, but to make the tax cut, we took it out of the budget. And so now what we're asking for is a budget amendment to allow us up to $145,000 to purchase a new ambulance. The plan is similar to the ladder truck, to buy that through state purchasing, so we get best price through Onondaga County purchasing. That's what we're looking to do.
If this was to pass, Chief, how quickly can you get an ambulance? I remember talking to the DPW Commissioner a few years ago. I didn't realize it took 6 months to get a snowplow.
It's pretty complicated. Hopefully, we're hoping to streamline that process using state bid process, so the bids are there. Similar to what we did with the ladder truck. We took somebody else's competitive bid, and we made minor changes here and there, and then got that in production. Now, certainly, it's not like a ladder truck where they actually build the thing from scratch. It's just a matter of getting a chassis and then putting a box on that chassis, but it's all the wiring and things like that. So I would say at least 6 months to 8 months. We're fortunate. What Mentor does, and I don't want to speak for Mentor, but what Mentor does is they have a brand new ambulance kind of waiting for them at the vendors. It just doesn't have anything on it. And so literally they were able to say, take our ambulance and put Oswego Fire Department on the side of it, and we were in the ambulance business again. It's not going to be that like that, unfortunately. We don't have an ambulance just sitting there at the vendors. And I don't think we want to go back down that road and experience the same thing we did with the Mercedes-Benz. I think it would be better to go off state bid, get a quality product, and something that's going to last for the city.
In the short term, the lease that we have with Mentor is through December, isn't it?
Yep, and there are options to extend that if we need to.
So you can extend it until you get the new one?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from the council for the chief? From the public?
I have one question.
Councilor Tezzararo.
You said this wasn't a budgeted item for 2020?
No, we removed it from the 2020 budget the mayor chose to remove it from the 2020 budget to get the tax incentive. And ask that we do it this way in 2019.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Hill, Counselor Wilmot.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tezzararo.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Item number 7, Randall B. Griffin, Fire Chief, requests permission to accept one laser methane mini gas meter from the New York State Public Service Commission. Chief?
Over the last number of years, there have been a number of incidents that have cost firefighters' lives, where they've gone into a gas incident. There was one just recently in Maine, where a fire truck arrived at a nursing home. There was propane leaking from beneath where the fire truck was parked. Unfortunately, they discovered it when it blew up, and it killed one of the firefighters that responded that day. To address this, the Public Service Commission in New York State is requiring all the utilities, gas utilities in the state, to provide first responder training, which we just completed, as well as providing us standoff protection. So this way, instead of having to actually enter the environment to sense how much gas is in the atmosphere, this allows us to stand 100 yards away, point a laser, it can go through windows, and we can determine how much gas is inside that environment. It's about a $14,000 to $15,000 monitor that the Public Service Commission, along with the utilities, are providing to us.
All right, very good. Thank you for that explanation. Any questions from the council, from the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Tezzararo, Counselor Wilmot.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tezzararo.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Item number 8, the wastewater department requests authorization for the city chamberlain to make transfers within the wastewater department's budget. Is there anybody here to speak to it? Mr. McGrath?
This is just a transfer of funds. It's not purchase of equipment. We've had some issues at the east side with the centrifuge. There's something going on the inside that we just can't figure out on our own, so we've got to bring someone in to deal with that. And generator maintenance on all 4 of our generators, one at each of our pump stations and one at each main plant. And then the heating installation at the Cayuga Street pump station. All the equipment's there. It's a matter of getting people in to get that installed before winter.
All right, very good. The centrifuge, I remember when I first became a counselor, we had purchased a centrifuge, but was it this one or was it the other?
I believe the one that was purchased when you entered in is the one that we're having issues with.
Okay.
It has to do with the PLCs. Gone through a couple of them, and they can't figure out what's going on. We have a backup, so we're maintaining a treatment of the sewage solids, but we need to get this fixed so that it's reliable.
Yeah, no doubt. We've learned in the past the centrifuge is an essential piece of equipment in your line of work.
Very much so. Yeah.
Very good. Seems like a very popular issue tonight. We're doing a lot of budget transfers.
Yeah. You guys want to get day trading?
Yes, Councilor Tezzararo.
Could you explain the heating portion of this transfer again, please?
The Cayuga Street pump station was slated for an overall of its heating unit. New equipment has been purchased. Before they put the new heaters in, though, they had to get the roof repaired because the roof was leaking. Right. And that's why they've held off on this. And now they're bringing in an abatement team because there's some asbestos over there. And they've got to get the roof taken care of first before they do the heating. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Any other concerns from the council, from the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor Hill, Councilor Tezzararo.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tezzararo.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 9, Caroline Anderson, Animal Control Officer, requests permission to be granted to the City Chamberlain to make 2 transfers to the Animal Control Personnel Services overtime account to cover animal control staff overtime costs for the remainder of the 2019 calendar year. Carolyn?
Good evening. So as is the nature of animal control, just because 3 o'clock rolls around doesn't mean the staff always get to leave. When dealing with living animals and emergencies with various animal control issues throughout the city, we do end up accruing overtime. We have exhausted our account for our budget this year. I have approximately $10,000 that I can do an intra-department transfer from an equipment account to cover a portion of the remaining need, but I'm also requesting a $5,000 transfer from the contingent fund to staff overtime for the rest of the year.
All right. Any concerns or questions from the council? Councilor Tesorio?
I didn't hear that amount. I'm sorry.
It's approximately, it's $999,000.99 from my equipment account, and then $5,000 from contingent. So approximately $10,005.
One more.
Yes, Councilor?
I know it's hard to forecast, but I think the last time you were here, you were asking for basically the same thing too.
I think it was earlier in the year, and I believe that we have not had to transfer as much this year as we did the previous year. But we're trying to figure out exactly how much we need, and unfortunately, you know, things come up every year that we can't necessarily predict. I mean, we just took in 19 dogs from one of our, you know, townships that had a cruelty case, and, you know, I had to have 3 staff members stay 4 extra hours, you know, so stuff like that happens that can't be predicted, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else on the council have questions from the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor Hill, Councilor Wilmot.
Councilor Cordino?
Yes.
Councilor Hill?
Yes.
Councilor Tesorero?
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot?
Yes.
Item number 10, Kevin Caracoli, City Attorney, requests executive session regarding the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, or the proposed acquisition of securities, or sale or exchange of securities held by such public body, but only when publicity would substantially affect the value thereof, concerning 154 East Seneca Street. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for recess so we can go on with the other committee meetings, and then we'll circle back and visit this. Councilor Hill, Councilor Tesorio for a recess.
Councilor Cordino?
Yes.
Councilor Hill?
Yes.
Councilor Tesorero?
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to call the Physical Services Committee for October 7th, 2019 to order. Please call the roll.
Councilor Hill?
Here.
Councilor Wilmot?
Here.
Councilor DeMasi?
Excused.
And Councilor Grozek?
Here.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of our September 16th, 2019 meeting? Councilor Wilmot, Councilor Gozick.
Councilor Hill?
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot?
Yes.
Councilor Grozek?
Yes.
Is there any old business to come before this committee? Seeing none, we'll go on to new business under communication. Item number 1, the City Engineering Department has received a request from Carlene Palmatesso, owner of a single-family dwelling at 58 West Mohawk Street, located in the 5th Ward, for use of public space for green space trade between the curb and sidewalk. Ms. Palmatesso?
Before I started, is there a petition that my neighbors signed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I have lived at my residence for 23 years. This year I was part of the Renaissance program, put $8,000 into my house. Looks really good now. But I have a parking problem. On my street, well, first of all, my parking is a shared parking. I have 58 inches to park my car, wide. It's a small car, it's a Juke, but 58 inches is not a lot of space. I would like to get a bigger car, but I can't because there's no place to park it in the wintertime. On my street, it's Mohawk Street between 4th and 5th. I have College on the one side of the street, and they take up 5-6 parking spaces. I have a rental next to me with 3 apartments, and they have a few more spaces, but I also have the hospital, all the staff from the hospital parking there constantly. I can't even park in the street sometimes if I want to. The thing with my shared parking space is that the cars, the people that live next door to me, they keep changing. So every time they change, the cars get bigger and bigger and bigger. Right now we have about that far between us to park. In the wintertime, it's impossible to pull in the driveway without either hitting my house or their car. I don't know what else to ask for except a parking pad from the street to the sidewalk directly in front of my house. There's no tree there. There's nothing to really do except to pave that part. I'm getting older. I'm 60 years old. I really would like a car that is more comfortable than what I have now. It's a very small car. It's very tight. I'm just asking you to please let me have some additional parking. I am the only house on the street that has this situation. Everyone else has quite adequate parking. And that's my plea for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Gozick?
Yeah, I met with Mrs. Palmitesso and looked at the spot, and I know that we have a local law in the books recently that prohibits paving the front yards and public space, but in this circumstance, I thought it was rather exceptional because of how small the spot was and the fact that she's invested so much in her home that, I truly believe that we need to look at each of these cases when they come here once in a while on a case-to-case basis and really evaluate it, because under the circumstances, anybody that knows, I know Councilor Hill knows, Mohawk Street is notoriously congested. You can barely get up and down with all the college housing, the extra cars are on the street, and additionally, like, nobody can even see the green space anyway. But Mrs. Palmitesso, I don't know if she mentioned it, but she would like to also replace the green space by taking out the parking pad that's too small and returning it to green space. So I would ask the committee members to take it into consideration that here in Oswego, this is a working class city, a working class town. It always has been. I'm proud of that fact. My grandparents, my parents, most of the people here in this room, we aren't Radisson, we aren't Skinny Atlas, and I think sometimes when we look at some of these communities we aspire to model ourselves after, we have to recognize the fact that this is Oswego. And regardless of that, well, you know what? We pay the highest taxes around, local, state, county, school district. And when a constituent of mine comes to me, and I weigh it in the balance of whether or not we have a local law in the book that outlines noble aspirations for our community, when we look at the reality of someone that has invested their entire life in this community and lives in a home for over 2 decades and wants to retire there and wants a car so they can maneuver the streets in this town. In the wintertime, Mohawk Street's bad enough. I would ask the committee members to consider the human element here before they vote here tonight, because I support Mrs. Palmitesso's request, but I hope she can get enough support tonight to actually get the parking space she needs. So thank you.
Any other comments? Councilor?
I just wanted to say that I can sympathize with the situation that you're in. We do have a system by which you can get a parking space on the street for the winter because you only have one parking space off-street. So that can mitigate the frustration that you feel in the wintertime. But we have enacted this law that does say that we will no longer pave public space for parking. And we've enforced it for other residents since that law has gone into effect. So I don't really see an easy way of navigating that by granting it to someone when we've already refused it to other residents.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity over the weekend to attend a potluck, and Ms. Palmitesso was at the dinner, and I did speak with her, and I indicated to her that I could not support this request. We supported the local law 7-0. It was unanimously adopted. I've told neighbors on that particular street, just within a couple blocks, that they could not do the same thing because of the local law. Your house is very beautiful. You've done a tremendous job. And I think that if you were to put a parking space in that front lawn, it would contradict everything we're doing, and it would also be detrimental to the value of your home and the value of the neighbors' homes. I can't support it. Of course, I'm only one counselor on this committee and on this council, but that's my position on this, and I have to stick with that. Any other comments? Councilor Corradino.
Through the chair, we all took an oath on January 1 to uphold the laws of the state of New York and the city of Oswego. And as Councilor Gozick mentioned, we did pass a law, and I can't see where this body can ignore a law, and I certainly sympathize with Ms. Palamateso because it's a problem that is common in the city, but we wouldn't be doing our job if we ignored the law and approved this. So if I get an opportunity, at full council, I will be voting no.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, could I have a motion? Councilor Gozick, second? We do not have a second. So, City Attorney, what is the protocol?
The motion would fail for lack of a second.
Okay. All right. Item number 2, the Office of Economic Development has received a request from Buck Boosters for a police car escort to lead the Buck Spirit Parade to be held on Thursday, October 17, 2019. This is a pretty standard request. Are there any questions from the council? No? Could I please have a motion? Councilor Wilmot, Councilor Gozick.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes.
Councilor Gozick.
Yes.
Item number 3, the Office of Economic Development has received a request for a police car escort to lead the 15th Annual Oswego Veterans Day 3-mile run walk on Saturday, November 9, 2019 at 10 a.m. Again, another standard request. Any questions from the council? Could I please have a motion? Councilor Gozick, Councilor Wilmot.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes.
Councilor Gozick.
Yes.
Is there any other business to come before this committee? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Councilor Wilmot, Councilor Gozick.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes.
Councilor Gozick.
Yes.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call the Planning and Development Committee meeting October 7, 2019. Roll, please.
Councilor Tesorero.
Here.
Councilor Cordino.
Here.
Councilor McCurdy.
Here.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the August 19, 2019 committee meeting?
Susan? Susan?
I'm sorry.
Councilor Cordino, Councilor McCurdy.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McCurdy.
Yes.
Is there any old business to come before this committee? I see none. We'll go to new business under communication, where Mayor William J. Barlow seeks favorable consideration by the Common Council for proposed local law number 7 amendments to Chapter 253, vehicles abandoned or junk. Mr. Mayor?
The junk vehicles, this is just a simple language change. The code says the city engineer and OPD can enforce it. We're just changing it to code enforcement and OPD. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Can I get a motion? Councilor Cordino, Councilor McBurney.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McCurdy.
Yes.
On to item number 2. Mayor William J. Barlow, Jr. seeks favorable consideration from the Common Council for the adoption of a new initiative called Keep Oswego Clean, which will include the adoption of a new chapter to the City Code as outlined under proposed local law number 8. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. This is a multi-pronged approach to do what the title says, and that's Keep Oswego Clean. So we package a bunch of different initiatives really into one package. The first being littering. Right now, if you look at the definition of littering, it refers to handbills in our city code, whatever you want to call a handbill. We're looking to expand that language to actually cover somebody walking or driving down the street and throwing something out of a window, whether it's a straw or a cup or whatever that may be, or walking down the street and throwing that cigarette butt out into somebody's lawn or in a sewer or the city street. So we're expanding that and also doubling the fine from $100 to $200. In the $90,000 quality of life resolution you passed earlier, some of that money will be used for a littering detail next spring and summer if this law passes, so we can educate the public and enforce it and actually follow through on this. The second initiative is the no smoking, vaping, or tobacco use on city property. That includes parks, city grounds like around City Hall, around the police station, courts, at the DPW, at wastewater, pretty much anywhere where there's a city building. No smoking on the grounds there, and also city parks. So Breakback Park, Veterans Park, our walkways, our pavilions, anything that's designated a city park, basketball courts, Harbor Trail, the marina, you can't smoke there. And then we add in vaping and all tobacco products in there as well. We're looking to double the number of trash receptacles excuse me, in every park. So right now, if there's a park that has 2 trash receptacles, we'll put 4. We'll do that in every park, and then try to double the amount in the downtown area. We already have, we think we can do that within the DPW's current budget for this year, so not asking for any additional money for that. There's a styrofoam ban in here, which would essentially ban the use of styrofoam in the city of Oswego that's for sale. So if you're at a restaurant and trying to get to go, the restaurant would have to convert off of styrofoam to some of the other alternatives that are out there, cardboard, plastic, and others. We did build in a few exemptions. A few of the, it's a blanket ban with a few of the exemptions. One exemption is for deli seafood. If you walk into a deli, you'll see in their showcase that sometimes there's a thin piece of styrofoam between the meat and the actual surface it's resting on. So we would still allow that bit of styrofoam to be used for seafood and things like that. Construction materials and anything pre-packaged that the business receives. Obviously, that's out of their control, that their styrofoam and something they receive. So let's say you're buying a dryer or a dishwasher or something that's delivered to your house with styrofoam, or delivered to the store with styrofoam, that would be acceptable. And then we also propose an exemption for not-for-profit activities. So if you're a restaurant having a chicken barbecue to raise money for Pop Warner football, you can still give that chicken barbecue dinner away in a styrofoam container because it's to raise money for a not-for-profit organization. The reason for this ban, obviously, is because we know, first of all, there's a lot of other alternatives to styrofoam that are healthier, better for the environment. Styrofoam contains known carcinogens. It doesn't break down. It ends up in our waterways. I said a couple of days ago that as a waterfront community, I believe we have more of an obligation to be environmentally friendly and conscious of what we're doing. So the crackdown on littering, on smoking, and the styrofoam ban, in my opinion, all goes hand in hand. And doing interviews last week, it wasn't hard to find styrofoam floating around, whether it's the bait floating around in the water, whether it's the bait container or the coffee cup. It's obvious, it's apparent. We see the New York State plastic bag ban going into effect next year. This is really just another phase of that, I think, of phasing out a product that's we know is unhealthy, we know is dangerous to the environment and to our health, and it makes sense to substitute it with reasonable alternatives. I must say I was really proud of our local business community here once this news broke. Various interviews on different media outlets where they went to these businesses, with no notice, just to get their take, and you saw, I'll admit, a bit to my surprise, a positive response where either the business owners say, it makes sense, it's our environment, let's make the change, or they're already phasing it out on their own anyway and realize other options are out there. So that's encouraging. One last note about this is we are building in a 6-month grace period from when the law passes. So if you're a business and you already have your shelves stocked with whatever styrofoam product you use, you'll have 6 months to burn that up. So you don't have to throw it out or immediately replace it. You can build up what you can use up what you already have ordered before the ban actually goes into effect. The last piece of this is just purchasing tote bags, which we have money in this year's budget to do. The tote bags would actually be used to promote the Keep Oswego Clean initiative, listing the bullet points in this initiative. and we could give those out, one per resident, when here at the bottom of City Hall or with the PTAB tent as we're out at events and things like that, just to give people, when that plastic bag ban takes effect next year. Everybody here, I think, pays attention to the news, knows it's coming, but some people, I think, will be caught off guard. So, I think if we can have those available and see people, we can help, help with the shock when they go to the grocery store and they don't have a reusable bag. So, pretty comprehensive. I think it makes sense. I think they're all reasonable policies. Change is hard, and I expect people to, much like they did some other initiatives like the plastic bag ban, to maybe be uncomfortable with it at first, but once you think about it, I think it's kind of hard to try to justify putting styrofoam in your microwave next to your food and using it when you know it's bad for you. So that's it.
Any questions from the council? Councilor Lowe.
Through the chair, I'm particularly happy about the smoking, vaping, tobacco ban on city parks and city property. In managing the summer concert series and some of the entertainment for the Pocket Park, that was the #1 complaint that I received after each concert. The concert goers would not be able to enjoy the concert because they were being hit with the smoke from people that were very inconsiderate. So this was in the works, I understand, during the concert, so we were giving the folks encouragement that there was relief coming. So I'm very happy to see this in the package. Also happy to see the ban on polystyrene. I think that's important. I think most of our downtown business owners have already changed over. They saw the writing on the wall. They understand the health benefits. So there's already a dramatic shift taking place. So I think that's part of the reason why there wasn't such a shock when the news broke on this. So I support this wholeheartedly. I think it's a good move forward for our community. And again, as a waterfront community, we need to lead by example, show that we value our waterfront, value our community, and we're gonna lead by example.
Thank you, Council. Anybody from the outside of the council would like to speak on this? I see none. Anybody in the public want to speak? I see none. Can I get a motion? Councilor Cordino. Councilor McBurney.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBurney.
Yes.
Okay, and item number 3. Councilor McBurney requests discussion regarding Chapter 240, Trees of the Code of the City of Oswego. Councilor, you speak on this?
Did anybody have anything they wanted to say about the experience this last? Okay. So, one of the things that we have talked about a few times over the last 2 years since I came on the council is reconciling the confusion about the charter, the tree ordinance, the role of the tree advisory board. So I was hoping for a discussion about how we might clarify some of this moving forward. So I just had this little thing. The current downtown replanting plan will result in a lovely, tidy, sterile stretch of uniform flowering trees. They will last about 30 to 40 years if all goes well, and when they're exhausted, they will be replaced en masse. And the move was necessitated by the routine neglect of the existing stock in the downtown corridor. If the trees are maintained and replaced as needed, we should not be faced with such a wholesale removal again. So the DPW is charged by the city charter with the responsibility for managing the city's tree stock. And the tree ordinance and tree advisory board were developed to help the city of Oswego achieve Tree City USA status. And inherent in the tree ordinance and the tree advisory board is the idea that there will be a collaboration between the DPW and the varied stakeholders represented on the board. I would like to suggest that moving forward, the DPW be expected to have a representative actually attend the tree advisory board meetings as stated in the tree ordinance. That the DPW be expected to consider advisory opinions on matters related to the maintenance of the city's tree canopy in major public areas such as parks and the downtown corridors. that when making decisions that affect these areas, the DPW should actively seek the opinions of community stakeholders and endeavor to incorporate them into the final design so the resulting aesthetic has more broad-based community support. I would ask that the DPW be expected to pursue diversity in stock, maintaining existing stock through regular pruning, removal of dead branches, replacement of dead or dying trees on a continual basis. I would ask that monocultural plantings be avoided in the future so the wholesale replacement of an entire downtown canopy will not be required when any one species' lifespan is exhausted. So in summary, I would like to say that I believe the confusion and disappointment of so many stakeholders in the decisions made in managing our urban landscape is completely unnecessary. The tree canopy is one area of city responsibility that is most suited to collaboration, deliberation, and compromise. Trees are long-lived, and barring a circumstance of imminent danger, there is time to weigh and consider alternative points of view in developing plans for the city's urban landscape. Thank you.
What do you want to add to this discussion? Anybody from the public? Mr. Mayor?
I mean, in the case of West First Street, it's just, I just think there's a backstory that we haven't been telling that needs to be told. You know, and I feel that I have some of the responsibility here. It's October, and we have an election, and the Common Council's up for re-election. A member, and this is part of my fault because I put members of the other political party on boards, not just the tree board, but the chair of the zoning board is a Democrat. I put Democrats on the planning board. The tree board is all Democrats, most of who are on the city committee, one of who is running against Councilor Hill. And, you know, for that important piece of information to be left out as information is going around, I think it's kind of important to note that. And, you know, West First Street, here's a plan that shame on us that, you know, where was the outrage on 104 when we cut down the trees from Water Street to West 3rd Street when we were doing the Complete Streets project? It's the same exact thing. We cut down the trees that existed there and planted them up, and nobody said anything. I don't even think anybody noticed. The mistake we made this time is Commissioner Kells actually came before the committee, right, did the right thing with a member of the board here, and said while we were buying material to go around the bottom, and actually said, "What do you think?" And Councilor Hill actually asked pointed questions, and the member here says, yeah, with the right information, I could support it. Then the next day, or a couple days, I wasn't at that committee meeting, but the next day or a couple days later, it's a big deal, and you know, it's not right, and we don't know what we're doing, and you know, we got to go through 3.5 meetings to figure out what we're doing. I mean, and look, people I think just need to take a breath sometimes. I mean, see everything going on in the city, and you know, replacing trees on one street sends people into a complete outrage, and seeing some of the things that I saw, and people treating my staff the way that I saw and heard, and the comments I'm reading, and it's like, wow, you know, we need to take everything that serious if it's really, you know, that important. You know, the other thing to remember is every time we touch something, it seems like there's the initial, what are they doing? You know, the sky's falling. Harbor Trail, we went and you know, cleaned out all the brush, and yes, we dropped 2 trees there and leveled all that land. People were calling the DEC, you know, telling us the bats aren't going to have a place to live. The butterflies, where are they going to go? The muskrats, it was, bad for that. The pocket park, right? 6 parking spots. Where are people going to park? The 6 parking spots between Ferris wheel and Coffee Connection, you would have thought, we were putting a dead end on 104. And, a couple months later, it's kind of a nice project that everybody's enjoying, and the people who were the most critical, who didn't understand it, couldn't believe what we were doing. We were wasting money, killing downtown businesses, waste of space, nobody's going to go. They're the ones enjoying it, and dare I say, making money off of it, right? So, the 104 project, we're tearing up all the sidewalks. Where are people going to walk? How are you going to get through downtown with all the traffic? The businesses are all going to close. It came and went, and I think downtown looks better than it did. So, and I suspect, that we took down the trees on West First Street, but I bet next spring, maybe not next spring because they got to grow a bit, but 2-3 springs from now, when it's June and they're actually flowering trees with some character, and they're symmetrical on both sides, and it's a nice clean shot and it looks nice, I bet some of the same people saying the same crazy things that I read and heard in the hysterical phone calls will be the same people saying, doesn't this look nice? And I think it's just important to, number one, gather the facts, the right facts, before you just blow your lid. And, my last point, I guess, it probably won't be my last point because I'm getting into it now, but I, in my concession business, have the luxury to travel around the state of New York all summer long, every summer. Most of the time I go to the same cities every year, but occasionally I get to go to different ones. And I get to go to places like Naples, New York, Geneva, Canandaigua, Seneca Falls, Ithaca. And, most desirable downtowns have flowering trees, and they have trees that are they're consistent and they match, and it looks nice and it looks neat. The trees out here, were probably the cheapest trees available 30 years ago when they went to place the order. Some of them were half dead. They're different heights, they're different kinds, they're overgrowing their space in some cases, they're stunted in other cases. The sidewalks are coming up, and it's nice to never change anything, and we've seen with all of the projects we've done. I think we even took heat for the stairs where the heart is now, that the tree board member took a picture of his dog going to the bathroom on and posted on Facebook. But I think people were even mad about that. Where are we going to go with the stairs? There's a little short-term pain, but it's for the greater good. And the notion that I would go and cut down all the trees on West First for what? After we just spent $3 million of our DRI money to improve the aesthetics of downtown? Why? Because the business owner said don't, so we did anyway? I just don't understand where the other side comes from. And by the other side, I don't mean anybody in particular. I mean just in general, that sort of emotion, that sort of immediate conclusion. And that's what's been disappointing, to have it be members of the own board that I appointed because I thought it was the right thing to do, and who I defer to when we get an opening. I say, Mr. Ashline, who do you want me to put on? And he says, so-and-so, and I put so-and-so on. To have them quickly turn around when one was here and politicize this so much, because maybe it's not politicized and it's just a huge coincidence, but where was the outrage on 104 when it happened in May? I just don't. I work really hard to not bring politics into here, and I don't take well to when other people try to do it, and I think that's an important piece of the story that needs to be discussed. There was a comment by one of the board members that it's not transparent, and if we're not transparent with this, what else are we not transparent about? I mean, are you kidding me? Give me a break, you know? What's not transparent? He came, probably against my better judgment, and pitched the plan when we could have had the trees down and back up, you know, before we would have had some outrage, but, you know, the trees are going in this week. It's not like there's a, you know, we're going to go 8 months with it looking that way. You know, we took the trees down in broad daylight. I mean, where were we going to hide? So I just don't understand a lot of it. And I don't have to understand it, I guess, because that's their opinion. They're entitled to it. But I do believe the final product, just like every other project we've done, I say that humbly, I think has converted spaces that were underutilized or in poor condition, and we've made them better. I suspect doing away with the inconsistent, bland, overgrown trees and replacing them with a consistent flowering tree that's the appropriate height with the symmetrical sides of the street will make sense, you know, 2-3 summers from now. So that's my take on that, and I've spent an incredible amount of time on this, and quite frankly, I have bigger, and I don't mind saying this, I have bigger issues to deal with than tree replacement project in West First. The one issue as it relates to the tree advisory board also probably falls on me, but I want my position to be clear, and then the council can form their positions off of it. There's been a struggle, not just with the West First Street project, but with the tree advisory board going back probably for the better part of a year that I've let fester. And that issue or disagreement has been the role of the tree advisory board. The tree advisory board, in my opinion, is just that, a tree advisory board. And we appoint people, and they are to advise DPW, code enforcement, counselors on how to handle the tree canopy and what to do, what's the appropriate action to take at any given time. My position has been, from the time I was a city councilor to now, has been if a constituent who is reaching out to me, who I work for, is reaching out to me for help with a tree because they're afraid it's going to fall on their house, or they're afraid a limb is going to crush the front porch, or it's buckling their sidewalk, or tying up their sewer line, and they come and they request it down, I take it down. And there's not a member of the tree advisory board, no matter what party they're in or who appointed them or whatever, that's going to tell me when I can and can't take a tree down for my customer. I mean, I'm sorry. And that can, as soon as a new mayor's here, maybe that'll change. But that is my, that's how I work, all right? Now, it doesn't mean it's going to come down tomorrow. The process is, if they want it down, what I will do is I will call the DPW commissioner to send Jeff Hamill, who is an expert at trees. They say, the board says we don't take advice from experts. Well, I would put Jeff Hamill's experience up against everybody's experience on that board combined. We know, we fund him to go to seminars every year. He's worked here long enough. He loves trees. We have him go take a look at the tree and inspect it. And if it's a perfectly healthy tree that doesn't need to come down, we make that argument to the resident. But ultimately, you know, I work for the resident. If they're afraid the tree's going to crush their home, then I do what my constituent wants me to do within reason. And that's now where the, I think, breakdown in communication has come is I have let the council, each individual counselor, kind of determine how they want to handle that policy. So just because that's my approach, I don't think that should be, you know, their approach. They can approach that board how in whatever way they want, and if they want to heed their advice or their opinion and go back to their constituent, then they're certainly allowed to do that. If they want to kind of bypass it and have a tree taken down for their constituent, I've allowed that too. So a lot of that back and forth tug of war is because I've let it be a tug of war, and I admit that. But you know, we have some counselors who don't ever request request a tree to be taken down. We have some that I think I get like one a week, so, you know, but it's the balance, and I let the council kind of decide how they want to conduct the business in their ward. So anyway, that is my, that is some context that I thought would be helpful to the entire situation. Councilor McBurney, your comments I appreciate, and, you know, make sense to me. Councilor Hill sent a gorgeous email to the Tree Advisory Board that I thought made sense about this specific situation. You know, you know, the timing of this whole blow-up is odd to me. The decision today, instead of coming here and talking about facts and talking about what happened and talking about some of the misinformation and talking about some of the information they left out when they were explaining this, I thought would have been helpful. But you know, it's disappointing. But we'll put new people on and we'll keep moving. And I'm happy to fine-tune the approach and add some consistency. But that's, you know, where I'm coming from and probably how this situation got to where it is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The man in the back.
I'll make it short, don't worry. People criticize change, my friend. You're doing a fine job. Plant the trees, do what you got to do, because the past mayors haven't done nothing. At least you're doing something. And don't worry about that stupid tree crew, because MacArthur was the worst of them all. He's gone.
Is there any other comments?
Thank you, Ron.
Well, this is a discussion. Any other business to come before this committee? I see none. Can I get a motion for adjournment? Councilor McBurney, Councilor Cordino.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBurney.
At this time, I'd like to restart the Administrative Services Committee meeting and have a vote to come out of recess and go into executive session. Can I have a motion? Councilor Hill, Councilor Wilmot.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yeah, the fire in his belly today. I guess so. Oh, maybe he should.